This is Inside Mside, your favorite podcast for all things Morningside. Hear stories from students, alumni, faculty, and more about what makes the Morningside experience so special. All right, welcome back to another installment of Inside Mside, your podcast for all things Morningside. I'm your host this time, Alex Waters, the Director of Alumni Engagement. Excited to be back in this driver's seat, if you will, of the podcast. We've had a few different hosts talking to a lot of different guests, and I think that's exciting. It's one of the things I love about this podcast is just the ability to bring different stories, whether it's from faculty and staff, alumni, people from all walks of life on this campus, be able to bring them here and just share their stories here. So if you're tuning in for the first time, welcome. If you're tuning in again, I would just thank you for returning and remind you to give the other ones a listen. We have them on our website or wherever you get your podcasts. But today's a big day. I'm pretty stoked about our guest here today with us. We have Interim President Chad Benson, class of 1990. Chad, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Alex. It's awesome to be here. My first podcast at Morningside.
So no doubt.
I don't think probably we would have anticipated this would have been it, but hey, here we are.
No
right?
kidding. Exactly. Thinking about where we've been and how long we've known each other, but then to be sitting across the table in this format is pretty awesome.
Yeah. Excited to jump in and have a good conversation. So
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure, Chad. Well, I really thank you for making time. I'm sure this is kind of a busy time in your schedule with so many changes and things happening. And so I'm really excited that you took the time to be on the pod and just have a conversation. I think that for our listeners, we're going to do a couple of installments as you and I talked. The first one, this installment, I really want to focus on just getting to know you. Getting to know the person that is Chad Benson, because I think if people don't know you or haven't met you, and now as the interim president, a lot of questions swirl around, and you have Morningside alumni, friends, and fans all over the world, really, that might be tuning in and not have a chance to get to know you or who you are. And so I think this first installment is really kind of important and fun to just get to know you and your time at Morningside and walk through that journey. And then in the second one, we'll get more into the 30,000 foot view of your vision for the future. Does that sound good?
That sounds great.
Awesome, man. Well, so to kick things off, I want to take us back and I want you to just talk to me a little bit about maybe where you're from, and really what brought you initially to Morningside, what that journey was like, where you grew up, what that must have been like before you came here.
Yeah, so I grew up in Northwest Iowa, Aurelia.
As did I. Yeah, there you go.
Aurelia. So, like everyone growing up in the 70s and 80s, it was, it was a small community and,
farming community.
Yep. And, the summers were swim pool and bikes and, you
bet.
It was kind of a simple life, I guess, in many ways compared to today's, fully connected world. And,
no kidding.
So yeah, it was a great time to grow up. And I think like now you reflect back on it. At the time, you're probably, I couldn't wait to probably get out of there. Now it's like I think back to it, and like most probably do, like when you grow up in a smaller community, there's so many things that are like, you really have a deep connection to, and you have a deep appreciation for. So yeah, that's something today. I definitely have a deep connection. My mom's still there, so I still go back quite a bit.
Oh, cool.
I got a lot of friends back there. Yeah. So yeah, my family, still, my wife Lisa and I grew up there together. So
that's right.
I kind of call it next door to each other because it's a small town and we lived next door.
Yeah, for sure.
For
exactly.
A long time. Yeah. So yeah, it was a great experience. And
then high school and started thinking about college right away. Was that always a given? You were going to be going to school, and how did Morningside come on your radar?
I always had kind of a interest to go to school, college, university. I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I started playing sports, early on, and as a youth, and I really loved football and wrestling, and football kind of took off for me. And so that kind of started to anchor my interest in going to college. And so, yeah, I started to kind of get recruited by different schools. And Coach Levitt here at Morningside started recruiting me. And
Football coach?
Okay. Yeah. He was the defensive coordinator here. Irv Mott was the head coach. And I really just liked the idea of being close for my family.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of different options of a lot of different sorts. So, this just started to become an obvious selection. And, the relationship that you develop with your coaches and the campus today is so much different than it was then.
It has changed so much, and we will get into that for sure, but it's wild.
So that was really kind of the essence of what started to drive me towards Morningside, and it was just kind of the right fit.
Did you have that aha moment as a student where you were thinking, okay, this is what I want to go into? It must have been the grounds crew, right? You were like, all right, now I'm into this.
It was probably joking aside, it was probably the thing that I had this idea of, maybe getting into, fitness clubs and things that I thought maybe I'd like to do.
Okay.
And the business side, I kind of got started a little late, right? So it was okay, do I get a minor, or do I go and get stay longer and get a full degree in business? And, it's kind of like one of those deals where I'm like, is it really going to matter, right? But it's funny, my journey. I've always been, I always tether back to this marketing class where we had to do a project for the semester, and then at the end of it, you had to get up, and it was in Pam's class.
Yeah,
and I was just terrified to speak. Right, it's your kind of your first time in front of the class, and you're not quite
pressure's
sure.
on, and all your peers are looking at you.
Yeah, and you're not quite sure that you know exactly what it is you prepared, and that what you're going to present is going to make sense. But that was for me one of those moments where I was like, you know what, things kind of clicked, and so I was like, hey, I really want to go into, I want to do something in business, and it's a question of what's that going to take?
What direction?
Banking, so many people go into banking, right? Or at the time, there wasn't, when you think of jobs back then, the specialization was not quite as, prevalent as it is today, right? So I think a specialization
it was more a broad degree, whereas now at Morningside, we have such specific tracks. I mean, students can really decide where they want to go.
Exactly. And I think, I started, I went to direct transit for about 3 months, and I was really trying to get on at Gateway, and that was really my first real
stepping
stone, and I started there in sales.
And before we get into that, I wanted to go back to one thing you said, was because I think that this is kind of a cool thing that we've implemented at Morningside, and it speaks to both your journey and mine at Morningside. And you talked about initially when you came here, just kind of being unsure, and looking through what those options were. And that's one thing that I kind of felt, after my accident, 2 weeks into my freshman year, and having to kind of change my game plan and determine where you want to go, what you want to major in. And that's what I love about our X Path here on campus. As a major, being able to come in and say, look, I'm going to do the X Path. I'm undecided, and I'd rather explore my options, because I think so many students find themselves in that same situation and feel, whether it's pressure from the parents or what have you, that there's just pressure to make a decision on what to major in. And at Morningside, at least, you don't have to do that right away.
Yeah, I think that's, to your point, a really big deal. I think a lot of times we... for whatever reason, it's a parent's profession. It's you know friends.
My mom
around.
was a nurse. My
Exactly.
dad was a nurse, something, and then I have to go into that. Yeah.
Exactly, and you see things from kind of a distance, and like my dad was very entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
And so like I always kind of saw that in him, but like, you know, I wasn't quite sure what that meant for me, right? So like I think eventually I kind of got there, but it
took a little time, right?
Yeah,
to
a lot
develop.
of kids today coming up through high school see, you know, this progression, and they get to a point where they go, okay, like I think I know what I want to do, but I'm not quite sure. And you know, getting to a point where you have that ability to kind of pivot and explore is, I think, a really big deal, and that's a big deal here at Morningside.
And then, what position did you play in football?
I played linebacker. Yeah.
Yeah?
So, yeah.
I mean, everyone's going to want to know, like, were you any good? Like, how was the team back then, Chad? Like, so we're talking 86 to 90, right? Talk to me about not only you and your position, because I did see some pictures from back in the day. We might have to share those online. I saw some pictures of Chad Benson, you know, on the football team. So,
yeah.
What was that like?
You know, for us in the 80s in the North Central Conference, you know,
way different than it is today.
Way different. And you know, I always felt like we had great teams. We were always very competitive, and you know, I think the comparisons to the North Dakota states, the state schools, we played against pretty much all state schools, right? So. You know, it was a challenging time win-loss, but I would say that, you know, character, I think for a lot of us, right, you learn how to get up off the field.
Oh, yeah.
And go back and, you know, do it again and again. And so it builds a lot of character.
It forged that resilience. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's – and you know, listen, the camaraderie of the team and the closeness of Morningside teams – today was no different back then. I mean, we had great teams. We had, you know, teams that were very close. And so, yeah, I think that experience, like, you know, keeping track of it in win-losses, maybe not look so good. Keeping track of it in terms of the equity you get from participating, learning, and friendship. Like, huge.
And I hear from a lot of alums, I mean, of that generation and when they were going through that and just how close those teams were. I mean, it's one thing now to be chasing national championships like we are today. Yeah. But I mean, back then it was a grind. And I know that it was, I mean, essentially it felt like you're on the front lines, like fighting every game and pushing as hard as you can. And so I know that a lot of great friendships were forged then too.
Oh, so. Absolutely.
Yeah. So now we'll go back. So you were talking about you somewhat established where you want to go. You're focusing on business, had that moment in marketing. And was Gateway kind of one of the first gigs, or that was the goal?
Yeah, well, yeah, because I at the time, you know, Gateway was like maybe
it had to be
4 or 5 years old. Like,
I was going to say it had to be somewhat early on.
Yeah, so they had just moved out to North Sioux City, South Dakota.
Yeah,
and you know,
and painted the building. Had they painted the building yet with that famous cow print?
Not at that point, but they were just putting the larger buildings up. That would have
eventually become that. Okay.
Yeah. So there was a lot of folks from a lot of people here at you know, at Morningside that were starting to go to work out there
for sure.
And so I got an opportunity, you know, in 90 to go to work in sales, and that was a great experience. You know, I spent a couple years doing that. And really, I spent 10 years there, so it's amazing. I always equate Gateway to kind of that, like, it's like the nirvana of your career, right? Like it was growing. It was a cool place to work. The culture was amazing. You know, Ted was always really cared about people.
And such a personality. I mean, stories that I hear of how much he poured into that staff and how it was a launching point for so many people of their careers, but also just inspiring them.
Totally so. Like, I mean, I just think across like how many people worked there and the different places they went and, success that they brought.
Yeah.
And, I think when you work for a company that's starting from nothing and growing, and you see somebody that leads and invests in people and builds a strong culture and is pioneering and willing to take risks.
Yeah.
Bets on people, like that's really
that had to be influential,
there, right?
Yeah,
so
that had to be influential.
I kind of look at it there that I got my truly got my business degree, got a master's, like I got a chance to do some stuff in marketing and operations.
It was just a master class and all of that. So then what's the highlight reel following Gateway? I mean, I know you've held a number of different positions, but what has kind of been that highlight reel getting us caught up to?
Yeah. So I spent another 10 years with Capital One in their early days. So I kind of got.
Where was that? Where
was in Richmond, Virginia. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I spent pretty much the entire 2000s, early 2000s there. And again, kind of a whole different shift for me. And I think that's kind of the message, right? Like I've really had the opportunity to explore, learn, and problem solve. And so my entire career has been like kind of a rolling, opportunity with different kinds of disciplines and problems and issues. So at Capital One, I spent a good bit of my time in risk and risk operations and strategy. And, I spent a bunch of time in the UK, back and forth. So
really,
yeah, a lot of just a company that I think when I got there maybe had a few thousand employees and 30 some when I left, right? So like the growth was pretty exponential.
So what was the next challenge?
My wife and I, wanted to get back closer to our family. And, her parents were getting older. My parents were getting older. We had 3 kids. My youngest son, Tyler, was getting ready to go to college. And so we thought we would try to get back somewhere in the Midwest. And this opportunity opened up with CBE Companies, which was a BPO. And I had done a bit of that work at Capital One, outsourcing some of our work globally. And so that connected, and I got a chance to kind of get involved there in a lot of different ways. So, I spent 12 years there. And exited that company in 2018.
And where were you based at there?
Cedar Falls.
That's what I thought.
So that brought us back to Cedar Falls.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because, like, again, living in Iowa for most of my life, we were ready to kind of make that leap and do something different with 3 kids. Moving to the East Coast really kind of changed the game for us, and we had family here to take care of kids, and there we're kind of on our own, and that was great for a long period of time, but we wanted to get back closer to family, so yeah, that brought us back.
For the listeners out there, give me a picture of your family and your family life, because I've actually gotten to know your brother too.
Yeah.
He worked here at Morningside for a number of years. Starting the ag program and stuff, but talk me through your family a little bit.
Yeah, so Chris and I are, we're the only 2 siblings, right? So he's my younger brother, and
not competitive at all. I can only imagine.
Yeah. For another podcast, but
no kidding. We might have to get Chris back here for that. That would be fun.
Yeah, no, that's always fun. But no, we
because he was an alum as well.
He is, yeah. He's an alum too,
yeah.
And so yeah, my parents being in a really, as I said, my dad passed away 5 years ago. Lisa and I, we've known each other our entire life.
You said neighbors to married. I mean, I tell you what, you don't get that as much anymore.
A great little picture when we're like, 2 and 3 holding hands.
So cute.
Yeah. So we have 3 kids.
Okay.
My oldest son, Tyler, is, he is in Colorado Springs, and he just got married. And my daughter, Haley, is in Denver, and she is engaged. She'll be married next year. And my youngest son, Trevor, is in Arkansas, and he works for Tyson. He actually works for my brother at Tyson. So yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we got a close family. We love time together, and it's interesting. We're now getting in the point where we can't wait to be grandparents and start that next kind of phase of our
doubt.
life. So yeah.
What I want to close this installment with is thinking about advice.
Yeah.
I've received a lot of great advice. I look to those people that I was impacted by here on campus, or maybe it's after in my professional career, anything like that. Talk to me what advice you would give to maybe a couple different audiences, right? Like the students, whether they're starting their journey at Morningside, finishing their journey at Morningside, or advice you'd give to anyone that is gracing this campus or coming here.
Yeah. So I think the one thing that I would say is that when you are making this journey through life, there are going to be lots of different things that show up, right? You're going to have good things and setbacks. I think keeping everything in perspective, I think we can think that something should happen a lot quicker. Mm-hmm. And I think in reality, I've found that no different than, kind of where I'm at right now, like things happen. And if you just kind of believe in the greater power, that it unfolds for you. And while sometimes you go through bumps in life, like good comes from that. And so, my advice is don't take things too serious. Like you can be, career focused, but be willing to let your career morph. I'm a learner, right? So like, if you think about like strength finders, or like one of the 100%. Things for me is learning. I love to learn, and I love to understand things. And, that's taken me into different areas that if I would have closed off, I would have never had the opportunity to really experience. So that's what I'd say. One. And the other thing is like, I had the opportunity for a couple years to have George Allen, on this,
I've
this
heard
journey
stories.
In football.
Yep.
And he said one thing that has stuck with me my entire life, which is a day wasted is a day you never get back. It's something pretty close to that, right? So I think that, every day is an opportunity. And, you get up every day and you try to give it everything you got, right? Try to be, the best person you can be, the best dad, the best husband, the best whatever it is.
Best student, whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you look back and you want to know that you've put a full effort in.
Chad, as the interim president, I'm so excited to have you here to learn a little bit about you, about your story, your time at Morningside, class of 1990. I'm just looking forward to getting to know you more. And in this next installment, I'm pretty excited. We're going to hear a little bit about your vision for the future and vision for what's going to be coming here at Morningside. So thank you for being here.
Appreciate you having me, and look forward to the next segment.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.